Yeah, it seems that from what I've seen on your Twitter page, that you do like to cook. You cook
Oh
like a
yeah,
lot.
totally I do.
They look delicious. Also, like all your cookies and your pastries and stuff.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and my question is like, as with like the way, like with the pastries and which have some kind of like texture, maybe also like colors and stuff. How
Yeah.
do you how do you give shape, um, texture, even maybe colors to certain of your characters when you play them, even like both like on stage or during the in the booth?
Yeah, that's such a good, I feel like flavors and textures is such a good way to talk about characters and talk about acting in general. I think that's super interesting. I guess as I've done more acting and more voice acting, I tend to like find pieces of myself in the characters or start with my base voice and think about, okay, this is my voice, but like what texture can I add to it? Um One that I did really recently was like Girls Frontline. I don't know do you watch that show?
Yeah, I have watched this. I haven't
Yeah.
watched it.
And I was this like little brat character, which is a character I haven't played a ton, so it was super exciting, but it was my voice, but I added this texture of like nasalness and brattiness and just kind of a jerk and like all those fun things. For a character like Swindler though, I felt like that character was pretty true to my voice. The only thing that I felt like I really had to like channel was when she's sort of motherly towards the children and kind of towards the whole group. Like it was fun to add that like matronly or like maybe babysittery like flavor to her character.
Or how do you prepare your character if you know in advance what you will play? What is your mindset before in a session? How do you prepare?
Yeah, I guess I generally if I know what character I'm gonna play, I usually watch it so I can see kind of what they're about, what they're like, and how they sound in Japanese, so I can kind of work from there. If I don't know what the characters I'm gonna play, I usually just go off how they look or how I think, and then I get to hear the Japanese again. But with less prep, I guess I generally base it off more how they look.
I always enjoy to ask every performers how and start with this. How what does being like a performer means to them? So what
Mhm.
does it means to you in
Yeah,
a
I guess
certain way?
for me, being a performer, being an actor just means taking on these characters and I guess like investigating them and piecing them together and find out how I can portray them true to the character, true to the way the author intended, all of those things. So I guess for me, the most important part of performing and acting is just understanding the character I'm playing and getting to know that character.
Was it like always your objective to be like a performer, an actor? Or is there something that made you want it to become that? To
I
become that?
guess I can't think of like the exact moment I knew I wanted to be an actor. The first thing I was like interested in middle school was like musical theater and I was thought I was going to be on Broadway and stuff, but it turns out I cannot dance to save my life. So that dream was dead before it began. But that's kind of when I realized that I love performing. I was in a couple plays in middle school and it was like the best thing I'd ever done. It was the most fun I'd ever had, and I was pretty shy when I was little, so it was kind of surprising to myself and to my friends that I liked being on stage, and especially doing comedy was my favorite thing when I was little.
Yeah, in your career, some of the 5 best moments you have experienced.
Like my
If you
favorite
can,
moment,
how you can relate or like means something to you.
just like my favorite moment so far, or the characters I've experienced.
No, like you as a performer, what are
Mhm.
your 5 best?
Oh, okay, okay.
Like
I can let me think of some good ones. Um, I guess one of my favorite voice acting moments was when we did the last episode of Akudama Drive, and when she gets to say like, "I'm the legendary Swindler," that was one of my favorite moments ever. And I had watched that scene in the sub like a million times before we recorded it because I was obsessed with that. I was watching it all the time. I loved it so much. So that was a really like good fulfilling moment as a performer. I loved that. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of if I have any like stage moments I'm super proud of. I I guess my last play I did in high school, we did a musical, and when I bowed and stuff, I thought I was the coolest little high schooler ever. So that was a pretty proud moment. Um yeah. The first time I ever did any voice acting at all was also something that like I will never forget. It wasn't like the best acting I wasn't very confident in my skills, but I was just like so excited that that was something that even got to happen. It was I did a bit part on the show Silver Guardian. I don't know if you've seen that. It's kind of I guess it was like 5 years ago or something crazy. But I was really proud of myself for getting in the room, and doing the thing even if I was kind of a baby still. Um let's see, what else do I have? I more recently, I was really excited to work on Dino. I love that show, and I was working with a cast and a director that a director that I've never worked with, and a cast that I mostly haven't worked with yet. So it was really exciting to get the email that I was going to be in that show when it was like all these new people and this new studio and all this cool new stuff, and I was just very very excited to get to work with actors and directors I didn't know super well, and yeah, just to do something for a different studio. So I was really proud of that moment. I think I have one more to get to 5. Let me think. I'll think of a good one. I have that the story about Silver Guardian was the first anime dub I ever did, but the first voice acting I ever did was for the video game Smite. I voiced this super creepy, I think it's Dreadful Doll Izanami, but it was the super creepy skin for the Izanami character. And it was so much fun. And that's like, it was such a huge, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It was very charactery. Like, it was so far from my natural voice, but it was my first thing I did. And I just remember thinking, oh, yeah, like, I want to do this forever. This is the best thing in the world. That character is still I love to if anyone wants to see something I was in, I can send them that link and be like, I did this one. It's cool and weird.
How did you, yeah, were like introduced to like voice acting? Because yeah.
Yeah. I guess the time I decided I wanted to be a voice actor, I was watching Netflix, and for whatever reason, like Sword Art Online popped up as my like first option to watch. And I was like, what's this? And I'd never watched anime before. I've always loved cartoons and stuff. Like SpongeBob has been my favorite thing forever. But Sword Art Online was the first anime I watched, and I watched the dub, and I was just like, I did not realize that people did this. Like I didn't realize there were, you know, English speaking actors doing this whole thing, and I was like, this is so awesome. So I started doing research and googling, and it like just so happened that Funimation, like one of these major dubbing studios, was really close to where I grew up. So then I started to like reach out and try to do things, but I took a class, and that class is how I got on the audition, like I guess audition list for the studio I recorded the video game Smite at.
My question is also, so far, what has been the biggest surprise that your career has offered to you? Or like maybe not the biggest, but like if you had a surprise that you had in, I don't know.
Yeah, just something surprising about voiceover.
No, like not maybe voiceover, but like that surprised you when you did.
Surprising moments in acting. I'm trying to think of a good one. Or is it like should it be like surprising moments that a character had and I was like, "Whoa, wait."
Yeah, sure, of
Okay,
course.
I'll try to think of a good one. Um one like very surprising session I had was for the time I got reincarnated as a slime, I voiced this little girl and she was just in one episode. I was like, oh yeah, well, I didn't know she was only gonna be in one episode. So I go in and I'm like recording the character, and then oh wait, is this spoilers? Probably not. It's an older show. But then she gets like set on fire and dies that exact same episode. And my director's like, oh yeah, you're just gonna die, you're gonna scream. And I was like, oh, she died. I'm shocked, but also it's really fun to scream. So that's cool.
I see. Oh, speaking of scream, how do you manage? Because you have like for your characters, like for example, Swindler in like the 9th episode with Cutthroat, or like in Gekidol with Seria, they scream a lot.
They scream so much.
So I was like wondering, how do you manage those screams, and maybe how do you enjoy them if you do enjoy?
Yeah, no,
them?
I do enjoy them. I love those like super intense moments. The one in Akudama Drive was especially fun because it was like this take on The Shining and this horror story. It's like I never really expected that, like when we started Akudama Drive, that we would get to do something like that. And I was like, oh, how cool. But that one was really my problem was that I have to like turn down the gain on my interface to like -400, so I don't scream too loud for my microphone. But it's just, yeah, I really like those intense moments. And with Seria in Gekidol, it was super intense. She's like crying and screaming, and her sister, and that was tough. But usually directors are super nice and they will not make you scream more than a couple times so that you don't like blow out your voice and can't do the rest of the session. One of my favorite screams I did was in Akudama Drive with Kellen Goff, when it's the two of us going back and forth while they're like driving the plane into the building. That moment is so fun. I loved doing that.
You said that like SAO has introduced you to like anime and made you realize that it was like something that people made voices. Was there like any shows that inspired you maybe to follow also your careers, or like just inspired you like loving animes and stuff?
Totally. The two that I can think of, and I really might butcher both of these names. I think it's Clanad. Is that, I might be saying it wrong. And the Funimation dub of Bakano. Those are two of like my favorite shows. And the dub of Bakano I thought was so cool. I really might be saying that wrong. The dub was so cool because they did all these accents. And when I was like a middle school thinking I was some kind of comedy girl, I used to do like all these funny accents. Like I do British people all the time and thinking I knew how to do that. But they do so many cool voices in that show, and I was just so impressed by like all the New York accents and stuff, and the cast of characters in that show is so good. There's so many cool archetypes and stuff that are explored, and as an actor, just seeing something like that is so exciting. And knowing that these giant, huge, charactery things exist. And Clanad is just like one of my favorite stories of anything ever. Like I love that show, and I love After Story. It's so good.
It's beautiful.
Right?
Emotional.
So emotional. I made when the quarantine like for COVID and stuff first started, I made my mom watch it all with me. It's like, Mom, we're stuck here. You should watch this.
Nice. And she loves it?
She did. She liked it.
That's cool. In your career so far too, what has been the biggest challenge? Maybe you have like many challenges, but like the challenge that you have encountered, and how did you overcome it? Or how did you?
I think the biggest challenge for me is it was, and I think I've gotten better at it, but auditioning is hard, mostly because you work on these files, these like sides, and you send them out, and then you're just kind of stuck waiting and waiting, and you do so many and you hear back so little that it can get really discouraging. I auditioned probably 40 or 50-ish times before I got my first job, which I still feel like is fairly lucky. Nowadays, I'll send off so many, and hear back sometimes. But you just have to there are so many people. There are so many really, really talented people auditioning for all the same things that you are, that you really cannot get discouraged with yourself because everyone is very, very talented. So, yeah. That part it's tricky though, and it's hard to keep sending without hearing too much back sometimes.
With all the characters you have portrayed, like small, bigger, or like main, like also on stage, which of them has been has have the biggest impact on you?
That's so interesting.
Or like maybe not one, but like maybe 3 of them, and maybe why and how.
Yeah, I think maybe the most impactful one and the most impactful project I worked on, I think, is probably Human Lost. Do you know that movie?
Yeah, I have watched it twice.
Oh, nice! I love that movie. I think playing Yoshiko in Human Lost was probably that's the first time that I really remember feeling like I'm good at this and I can do this. And yeah, it was a really impactful experience cuz I did not know I was capable of playing a role like that in a movie too. It felt just so affirming. I felt like a talented actor, and it's sometimes so hard, at least for me, I don't know, to feel like you're doing a good job. But in that, and I went to go see it in theaters with like some friends and family, and I was like, okay, I feel I'm doing good. Like feels so good. So that movie and that character is super important to me. Um, Swindler is another character that's so important to me. I have so many. Kind of like Swindler and Chiyuki from Smile Down the Runway are two characters I played that just felt like also very, very affirming as an actor that I could handle something like that. And those are two that I feel like I did a good job, and I felt like I was very honest to the character. And Swindler has such a great like emotional arc, and seeing her grow throughout the whole series is so like it's so beautiful. And I loved playing her and getting to track that with her, and especially working with Matt and Brittany it was such a great experience. And I loved tracking her growth and growing along with her maybe.
Yeah. And also, which one have you like enriched you the most? Like maybe with when you performed her or like him, you learned something about that character, about yourself too. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's clear.
Um one show that I worked, I think Gal and Dino was a very uplifting show for me to work on. It's like I really liked playing Kaede, and I loved interacting with the Dino because it's like nothing she was so satisfied and content with her life, just working at the store, hanging out with her Dino. It was a very rewarding process, but in playing that character is just like life can be more simple than I'm trying to make it, and it can still be so fulfilling, just kind of enjoying your life and not always, pushing for the next thing. That was kind of a good reminder in that crazy, crazy show that just to take it easy and things are good.
Do you think there's like also like maybe an anime or like a cartoon, because you mentioned SpongeBob, like a video game or musical fandom that shaped the one you are now? Maybe not one specially, but like
A
something or
couple,
like
yeah. I'm trying to think of my favorite things. I think being a part of like the theater, being a theater kid and being part of that community throughout high school, middle school and high school, and that's I'm about to finish my theater degree in college. So being a part of that community as a whole has really impacted the way I am. Just totally. I we read so many plays and experience so much, I guess, so many different opinions and stuff. I feel like just being a part of that community has made me way more understanding and open-minded and all of those good things, and just getting to work with people that, we're all very unique and different and have big opinions usually. So that community as a whole has been really, really shaping who I am. Specific like works, I'm trying to think of things that have really impacted me. I think like aesthetically, I've been super impacted by things like SpongeBob. I love Adventure Time, and I grew up watching all of those too. I think just cartoons and then anime, of course, being a part of that community, and I like there was so much content, taking all of that in. Yeah, like all that stuff has really impacted the kind of art I like, the kind of shows I like. Clan is a big one for me. Like I think that's some of the most beautiful storytelling ever, and it's done in such a kind way. It's never grandiose. It's really cool.
Before becoming like a voiceover, like wanted in the theater field, do you have some role model like for who you're inspired by? Or is it just will you just following your path and without having
Yeah, I think the thing that I've always been like following is just getting to I guess just kind of following my own like path and goals and stuff, but just I really like storytelling. I'm super interested in what that means, and to pass on and create all of this art and all of these stories more than anything else. And I'm just so excited I get to be involved in the storytelling process.
speaking of role model, because like as you have just mentioned that like theater and also voice acting is some kind of like storytelling, because you're basically telling the story of you going with these characters, you maybe breaking down their lives and characters. Are there any characters which you consider as a role model, like a good like inspirational, and maybe that
Oh. Yeah, like inspirational characters.
or that you can also see as an image of maybe a female empowerment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Um okay, this is kind of a dumb answer, but when I was little, I loved Jessie from Pokemon. And I was like, she's the coolest, strongest girl in the whole world, and I want to be like her. Granted, she was always evil. I mean, my girl boss inspiration has always been Jessie from Pokemon, but actual good female characters, I'm trying to think of my favorites.
Or maybe from the one you have played, not
Yeah.
or like you can take whatever.
Yeah. I think out of the ones that I've played, Swindler is probably my favorite for that reason. Just her arc is so freaking cool, and she's just so strong. But she's still cute as heck and still, feminine, but she's so strong, and I really respect that. Yeah. I guess I think she would be the best. And I also love Kaede from Gal and Dino for that reason. Like she's so she, she's the gal, but she's also very very content, very strong, living her own life. But also she likes makeup and clothes and all that kind of stuff too, and that just makes her stronger. So I think those kind of explorations of femininity are really cool.
You have played some like great characters. To who do you relate the most?
I
Like whether it's like on stage, because or like on in the booth.
I guess the character I play that I relate to the most, hmm, thinking I really she's kind of a jerk, so I'm hesitant to say this, but Chiyuki from Smile Down the Runway is a character that I feel like we would have a lot in common if we met or something in real life. But she just has this this drive to do what she wants to do and how she wants to do it, despite any factors like getting in her way. And I think that like my favorite thing that about myself is just being very determined and not giving up. So I think me and Chiyuki are similar in that way. I try to be nicer than she is, but yeah, just sharing that focus and determination.
Also, like the characters have like a big emotional growth, and sometimes, as
Yeah.
you have mentioned, with Seria, who just screams and cry, or like really hard to or like Swindler with all the screaming and the emotions. So like with like Yoshiko with all her emotions and stuff. What was the hardest, or like how hard sometimes was it to like portray, or like to find some kind of honesty in the performance?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I find my like stage acting experience to be very helpful here. We learned like kind of at the beginning of when I started my degree about like motivating everything with action. So it's not like because I didn't know any of this coming into college. I was had to learn all of this stuff. But if your character was like sad, it's like, well, don't play sad. What are you trying to do to your partner? So by saying these like mean words, you're not being mean. You're trying to elicit a response. You're trying to do something to the other in your scene. So I've been taught that these like often manifest in like action words like, oh, well, I'm saying this annoying thing in attempt to jab my partner, like an attempt to poke my partner, like these little action words. So I found it helpful because in anime we usually don't get the script ahead of time. So I find it helpful to kind of like on the fly be coming up with these action words. Like, okay, they're doing this, but like what are they trying to achieve by it? And usually it's like just very quick little thoughts. They're not the most articulate actions. But I found that like trying to get something from your partner is usually how I motivate those like emotional things. And also, I learned this especially with Matt and Brittany and Akudama Drive is like putting it into your body, especially that scene where they're like in the sky and Swindler is jumping and being thrown down a ton. It's like actually moving your body and actually like bracing is something I learned during that show is just like, yeah, like actually for those reactions, just doing them in a tiny way, I guess, really helped like make the sounds more natural and believable. So now I'm always just like jumping around and I'm doing reactions.
How do you manage your voice sometimes? Because sometimes like this character look like out of breath, like sometimes they're running like a lot and stuff. And I guess like it's physical in the end. It's really physical, but how do you manage like to take care of your voice?
Yeah, I guess I try not to scream too much. I'm kind of bad at it and I need to get better at being like careful and nice to my voice. But trying not to scream all the time. I used to be really bad about like screaming when I sang songs in the car, but I try not to do that anymore. And yeah, just having plenty of water and stuff, especially for those like long sequences of running or like panting and things like that. Yeah. Or just trying to fake them the best as possible or do whatever little like technique helps out so I don't actually have to like yell a million times.
You have done in the game Smite and some
Hmm.
other anime. Do you have what is the difference between like dubbing like a video game or an anime, or even I don't know if you, or like live action too? Because
Mhm.
in like Jal and Dino, I mean, you have some part of like live action,
Yes.
which is really cool to see. But like, or maybe you have played some live action. But what is the difference if you have, or like, how do you approach those differences?
I think the biggest difference between just dubbing anime and the video game work I've done is that because for the video game stuff there's no reference to like in there's no like flaps to match or anything like that. It's a lot more open. So basically your major guiding force is the director and then the lines where of course that's your major guiding force in anime as well, but there's the additional layer of like being true to the way that the Japanese lines were said and matching the flaps and stuff. So I guess it's a little more free to hold things longer, hold things shorter, things stuff like that. And with live action dubbing, that is some hard stuff. I'd done like one tiny thing before going into Gal and Dino, and I really enjoyed it. I found that with live action, I needed to take it into my body even more than I usually do for anime, like for anime, the animation part, because I guess Gal and Dino is still anime, even though it was live action at times. It was like I just watched the actor on the screen and I kind of just did what she did in attempt to make a sound like she was making. It's intense. It was tricky, but it was really fun and I really liked doing it and I liked getting to see like all of these, a human face to try to mimic. It was fun.
You have also started to be like a script writer.
Yes.
You have done like Banished from the Heroes Party for the, or like the Duke and his maid, or like Requiem of the Voice King. Was it like become like a script writer for like anime one of your objectives?
Yeah, I've always, since I started, and well, I guess since I realized that that was a position that people had, like since that was a real job, I've always wanted to do it. I think it's so cool. It's a really hard job, but it's really fun. It's kind of like it's like a big puzzle that you have to figure out, and I just really like it. And there's so much room to play with comedy and dialogue and all of these really exciting things. And just like my interest in telling stories, I think helping to spread these stories to a different audience it's really exciting. Yeah, I've always wanted to do it and I'm so excited that I get to do some of it now.
What is like the general steps when you do like the script writing, if it's possible to know?
I guess I always try to read I like the source material, like the light novel or whatever the anime is from. I think I like to like, do not want to mess. I'm kind of a perfectionist. I do not want to mess anything up. Um yeah, so I just go through it a couple times. Just go through the whole episode and try to find ways to match the flaps and find ways to be funny or be human and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how other people do it, but yeah, I just go through it a couple times. It takes like, different chunks of time. I'll work on stuff like that.
Smiled on the Runway and Akudama has been recorded from home, right?
Yeah. We started Smiled on the Runway in studio, but then we switched over for the last few episodes because that's when COVID like hit. I was so sad that we weren't able to record Smiled on the Runway because that was like my first lead character. I loved the show, but then we got to do it from home, so it was okay in the end. And then Akudama Drive was totally from home, which was awesome. And it was just kind of cool that the reason that show I feel like it's so cool is because there were actors from like all over the country working on it at the same time, which just felt very like, oh yeah, we're all coming together to do this thing. And the actors in that show are just so good. They did so good.
How was the whole experience for you voicing home? Your whole experience getting used to it, because I guess it's maybe different from in the studio within the booth.
Yeah, it's been a lot of learning about. At the beginning, it was even so. Oh gosh, we've been doing it for a long time now, I guess. But at the very beginning, I was using software and I was editing my own. I wasn't like editing like the hard kind of editing that like engineers and mixer people do. I was just like chopping my own audio and placing it. And I learned a lot. I still don't know a lot about technology, but I learned a lot more than I did know about technology and about microphones and interfaces and wires, and I still wish I knew more, But that was definitely an adjustment in like some research I had to do before, or I guess just to keep acting. I had to learn all these things and stuff. This is where I record now, in this closet, but I have a soundproof blanket up.
Do you think that like the COVID-19 in some ways has also allowed for like greater possibilities?
I think the possibility of remote recording is so exciting, because I never would have been able to do Gal and Dino because it was recorded at an LA studio. So because I had my remote setup, I was able to do that show, which ended up being such a good thing. And also Akudama Drive is my favorite example of all the people coming together. So I think definitely that possibility, or that the whole remote recording thing, has let us do so much really cool stuff and let me work with people I wouldn't get to work with normally. So that's been super exciting.
Speaking about recording, what are some of the best memorable moments you have for recording like a specific character?
Mm-hmm.
If you have like, I don't know, I enjoyed a certain moment, a line, despite like I'm the legend of the Swindler.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I'm trying to think my favorite moments. I had a lot of favorite moments because I played the role of Shota in season 2 of Dragon Maid, and I was a huge fan of season 1 of Dragon Maid, so I was already like super hyped up to be on that show. But I can't remember the episode, but I love all of the interactions with Lukua in trying to figure out the thing, like to bring Lukua down or to make her stop being annoying. That episode was so fun to record, and just like that silly little boy voice is really fun to do. So that was a good moment. What other things? Oh, I got to do bit parts for Fairy Tale one time, and I remember thinking that was like awesome, because I watched Fairy Tale when I was younger too with my little brother. So they told me I got to do a bit part, and I was like, this is the greatest moment of my life.
Cool.
I'm trying to think of like specific lines that I really liked. I really had a lot of fun recently doing Girls Frontline. Like that character, I got a cuss. I like when I get to make the cute little girls say bad words. So I had one line where I think I said shit, and I thought that was hilarious. So that was a good one I did recently.
Oh, you have mentioned that you like musical.
Yeah.
Musical. And you voiced Ho-Won and
yeah.
Ho-Won, yeah. How was the experience in voicing her and also singing the songs, because they are dubbed? And they're like singing the song. How was like the experience?
I loved playing Hoenn because she's just so cute and so happy, and I loved working with that whole team. Like all the actors in the band are just such amazing people, and I was so excited I got to be like friends with them because of it. And our director Megan Shipman is like amazing, and she's so good at music. She's incredible at music. So it was really fun to work with everybody on that project. I was so nervous about singing. It's just singing is I love doing it, but it always makes me nervous for whatever reason. But it ended up like being so fun, and I'm really proud that that's something that I did. It just did singing for a larger audience and singing for an anime. So I'm super proud of it. It was scary though, but it ended up being really fun.
What has been the most challenging role for you?
Most challenging role. It might be Gekidol, honestly, playing Seria, because just the emotional stakes of that character were pretty high. Yeah, and I really like doing that show so much though. But that one was hard because I really wanted to do it well and do it honestly and that stuff. And she was a very intense little girl. So that character was hard because she was so emotionally challenging. But I mean, I loved all of it. And I think Shota was a voice that I wanted, because I was doing a voice match. I wanted to make sure that I was really nailing the voice match. So that one was tricky for that reason, but I mean, he's one of my favorite characters I've done. He's such a good little wizard boy.
Going back to Shota, he's a boy. You also have played other like young boy character. How do you what is the process to go through those voice characters?
Yeah.
Did you have like a particular process?
Yeah, I guess. I guess I learned my anime little boy voice from Ash watching Pokemon. Is like that was my okay. So if I want to sound like a little boy, I'm gonna do my impression of Ash from Pokemon. But then where can I kind of move that around to so I'm not doing an impression anymore, you know? Shota's really fun because his voice is very unique and a little like whinier than the typical little boy that I've been a bunch of little boys, usually just small characters or in the background of stuff. The first little boy I did, I think, yeah, it was for Black Clover. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to sound like Ash from Pokemon. And I did, and the director ended up liking it and stuff. So I got to be more little boys and backgrounds of things from there. And then Shota was the first little boy that was a little different because he was kind of I don't know, he was whiny and he was funny and all of those good things. Ash from Pokemon's my inspiration.
You have played Alice Hardcore from like
oh yes,
did
you from Magical Girl Racing Project.
Yes. How was the experience voicing her?
That was my first recurring character I played, and I loved it. That was like, yeah, I loved playing that character. It was so fun, and it was a very unique character in that she was very quiet and she was very muted, and I really haven't played many characters like her since. I would love to play more, but now I feel like I'm usually loud, people. I'm pretty loud generally, but it was so cool to be this like reserved, quiet girl, and she had such a tragic story. So that was really fun to play and just really intense and a really cool part. I love her aesthetic too. Her whole like goth thing is so cute and her bunny. But I liked that show was really cool because it was like all these very powerful, skilled women on the in the cast and crew, and I felt so like awesome to be a part of that group of women. I was like, oh yeah, this hell yeah, girl power. I love this. Yeah, that everyone in that show is so good.
You have mentioned that you love do different accents.
I'm not good at them. I just enjoy them.
Was there any the kind of like accent you would like to? Which one have you done? Maybe, and which one would you like to like adopt or like even a language?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
I do a lot of I'm in my college I'm in an improv group, and I hope I can keep doing improv comedy stuff after college, but I do just a bunch of silly voices, and we do like all these accents and all these silly voices and stuff all the time. So I think that's like my major outlet of doing my British accent that is questionable and like things like that, you know. I have a roommate that's from Minnesota, so then she taught me how to do a Minnesota accent, so I like that one. And then growing up in Texas, that's a very accent heavy state. There's a lot of cowboy sounding people around here. So I know in my improv group we do a lot of cowboy voice. And I really like kind of the Valley Girl one too. And I got to do that a little bit for like funny lines that Kaede had in Dino and like funny lines in this girl's front line I just did. Yeah, so those are all fun things.
Have you ever cried like while recording or like writing like a part of an anime, recording a part of like a series or even a game?
Yes, I do. I did once. It was like after my session. It was after the session in Show by Rock, where Hoenn is like, I love you to Himiko, and they sit on the beach singing the Daikon song, and like after my session, I was just sobbing. I was like, that's the cutest thing. That's the sweetest thing I've ever did. That's peak sweetness I'm gonna hit in anime right there. But that scene still gets me. I put it in my little visual reel I made. I love that scene. It's so freaking sweet. But yeah, I like that one a lot. And then I cried after Akudama Drive ended because I just love that show and I'm super proud of my work on that show and everybody's work, I guess. Yeah, and same for after Human Lost ended. Or
Oh
after
yeah.
I guess we finished, I mean it's just a movie. After we finished recording it, I was like, oh, this was my favorite.
For which role did you had to change your voice the most?
Definitely Shota. I guess all the little boys. Maybe I kind of sound like Shota. I don't know, but yeah, I think those little boy roles are the most different from my own voice. I guess Hardcore Alice too is she's so sweet and small, where I tend to be kind of loud, So that one was a switch too.
Mentioned that you played recently, like in Joel's Frontline, you played Destroyer.
Yeah.
Which is like the small, bright, evilish girl. What was the experience voicing the evil character,
That's like
the antagonist?
Yeah, it's my first evil character, I think, unless I'm crazy. I think that's the first time I got to be the bad guy. So I'm really in the future looking to be more bad guys. It's fun. And I always love the villain characters. Like I love Brittany's take on Doctor in Akudama Drive. It's so cool. And I love the villains. I like watching stuff, I always think, yeah, they're cool. Like Jessie from Pokemon. That's all I want is to be Jessie from Pokemon. She's my favorite.
You played also Sumire in After Lost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was kind of a bad guy. Right?
Yeah, I mean for a short moment.
Yeah. Her voice, well, her like aesthetic was so similar to Hardcore Alice that I kind of went a similar direction with her, like that's sweeter. But Hardcore Alice is creepy. She could definitely be the villain of that show, but she ends up being a good guy. I think those characters are fun too. The creepy girls, and that's like my first job I did for Smite with the doll character. She was so creepy. So I like being creepy too.
Is there any lines in the series or show that you have, or do you improvise, let's say, like a lot in while voicing, or do you just follow the script?
I guess the only times when I don't follow the script is for Walla when we do like the background acting. And usually you can just sometimes it'll be like a minute long. Recently I did Walla for like a ballroom dance scene. So I was just saying things like, "Oh, your dress, oh, hors d'oeuvres," like things like that, just kind of making it up as I went. Those moments are really fun because you can, do whatever voice usually as long as it's not too crazy. But there's a lot of fun stuff that happens there in a little improvised action there, which is fun.
In like Show by Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And also with Gekidol, there's
Mm-hmm.
some kind of like shipping between the girls. What is your take on this?
Oh, I love it. I love when I get to have any kind of like romantic like counterpart in a show. I always think it's so exciting. And when both of those characters, they're so innocent and they're so like sweet and young that like getting to like be with them when they discover they're in love is like, it's just I love those kind of moments. I think they're so good and wholesome and sweet. Especially both of those relationships are so wholesome. I love it. They're such adorable girlfriends. I love them all. And in Gekidol, they have that kiss scene by the bus or train. I'm forgetting, but I love that scene. It's so cute.
How do you think it's important the representation of all the LGBTQ and stuff?
I think it's awesome. I think there should always be more, and that representation of LGBT community is just like super important. And There's so many good. I've been in I think both of those shows that have just these very good, wholesome relationships, and I love to see that kind of stuff. But of course, there could always be more.
You also played the teacher in Higurashi.
Yeah, I liked
How
doing that. That's one of the older characters that I've gotten to play. I usually am high schoolers or little boys, so it was fun to be someone older. It was fun to be a teacher. I liked that.
we have mentioned several times Chiyuki from like Smile Down the Runway, but
Mhm.
how was like the whole experience in voicing her and like following her story with like her wanting to be like a model and the whole story.
Yeah, I loved following her story. I thought because she had this barrier in her life that she felt like she couldn't get around, like her being too short to be a model, you know? So yeah, I really liked watching her climb like past that obstacle. And she really did. She did it flawlessly and she became a model and all that stuff. So it's an inspiring story just to watch her, despite all odds, do the thing she wants to do.
You have some kind of diverse role. Do you have any particular favorite role that you like to play?
A role that I want to or that I've played before. Like a new role?
Yeah, for example, like a new role.
Hmm. Um, I guess not specifically anything coming out, but I would like to play some character that's older. Oh, I just like to play characters like Doctor in Akudama Drive. That is like the next kind of trope that I would want to play a character of. I think it'd just be really fun and really different. Someone a little evil and older and mature would just be it would be a fun thing to try.
Directors have like different ways to direct the actor. What it has been like the weirdest direction you have
The
gotten?
weirdest direction. Hmm. Gosh, I'm struggling to think of one. I guess I guess things that made me look weird were probably just all the physical things. And when I started to realize that you needed to physicalize these reaction noises, that's probably if someone was watching me, I would have looked the strangest during those realizations. There are a couple tricks I've learned like for eating, just like ways to hold your face and like things to do so you can make the sounds right. So yeah, I guess those like eating ones always make me look silly.
Do you see yourself at this stage always doing acting, performances, and stuff?
Um yeah, and I really love writing too, and I think acting and writing are kind of going to be my things forever, hopefully. I really like to do creative writing stuff as well. Just I've written like some type like short plays and stuff like that in college. So I really love that kind of work. And I think always just pursuing acting and writing in some capacity will be my long term. Yeah.
And how do you think is the creative part really shaping and important to you, making describing you in some ways?
Yeah. I do think so. I think we put a lot of ourselves in the stories we tell. But I think it's really nice. I think it's nice to just think about the good of the story and what you're trying to communicate and all of that stuff. Definitely, there's some of me in everything I do. I can't remove that, but yeah.
Have you ever imagined all of your characters together in one burst?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it before. It's so funny to think what if they would even be friends. I don't know. I feel like Swindler and Hoenn would be friends. And Chiyuki would probably be mean to them, but maybe she could be friends. Shota would be friends with Hoenn, maybe. They're both cute.
Like performance in general, what is really like you put part of yourself in these stories. What do you hope to leave behind you? What is the kind of stories that you wish people to tell or like to remember. What is the story you remember?
Yeah, I think I like to tell stories that the one that I can think of most similar to something that like I'd want to create is probably Gal and Dino, that leave you with that feeling of like of I love how absurd it is, but I those are the kind of stories I like to tell, are the super absurd stories, but leave you with this feeling of it's okay, and it's okay to be human. And I like that feeling of humanity that you get from Gal and Dino in her position, and in the weird old Dino that's also there. It just feels so warm. And I guess those super strange but still superhuman stories are the kind that I would be interested in telling.
That's the end of my interview actually. That's the end, yeah. I finished.
Nice, cool. No more questions for me?
No, I don't have any more questions.
No, that was awesome. You asked so many really interesting ones. Now I'm thinking about everything now. This was exciting.
Do you have anything else to add? I don't know.
I guess I don't know. I guess watch Gal and Dino. That's my
yeah. We will watch it.
If there's one takeaway, watch that and watch Akudama Drive, maybe. Classics.
Big classics to watch.